Board of Education regular meeting here at Clarkson, August 15th, 2022. And call to order. Item number 2 is approved the meeting minutes. 2A, we're going with an amended agenda on 2A because we didn't move an item out of the consent agenda down to item 10A. So I'd like to get a motion and second to approve the amended agenda.
Motion to approve the amended agenda. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any negative? No. We'll move on. Presentations. Do we have any presentations?
For them.
Hold on a minute. Oh, yes.
That's
It's,
all.
Yes, we
We
did.
have it.
Okay,
yeah.
can I just check that? All right, so Ms. Kim Hubston, she recently completed the KASA School Human Resource Leadership Program, and it was made aware to me by Owen Saylor, who is a former superintendent, also the KSA Director of Program Development, and he says that the successful completion of this program is a clear indication that Kim values professional growth and is dedicated to the continued excellence of their school district, and he personally requested a copy of this letter to be placed on the agenda, and also that she be recognized as soon as possible. So we just wanted to take time to recognize Ms. Kim Hubston. When you guys have to take a picture with us?
I think I'll do that one this time.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
And it did more come about that.
Well, thank you.
Board member comments?
Do any board members have comments on this, Secretary?
Well, I want to thank Olivia for all the work she did in putting today's agenda together. Well, not this agenda, but this morning's agenda. It went really well, and I have the next time. I hope everybody else has the next time. But that was a lot of work, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay. No, just a second that it was amazing. Everyone had fun. Somebody won a TV. You know, I'm sure they really appreciate you putting that together. So we really appreciate everything, and just everybody that got to speak and just was present. It was great.
Ms. Williams?
I'm glad to be here for my first board meeting. That's my comment for today.
Well, I told Dr. Ross this morning that I thought the district kickoff on convocation in one was beautiful. Set a new standard and got everybody involved, with all the entire district. And like I said, it was a real big district family. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So you set up something new for us, Dr. Ross, to look forward to next year. And with everybody in the district there in that one place, that's awesome. You did a wonderful job. Appreciate you so very, very much for doing that. Continue to do good work. Now we have superintendent comments.
I was also going to just mention great opening day. Ms. Moore and the financial team, just great, phenomenal work. I was able to meet with, I'm just going to make a couple of comments regarding the folks I was able to meet with since our last board meeting. I was able to meet with Mayor Carroll, and it was very encouraging to hear his desire to support our school district, and I'll talk to you all more about that maybe in the work session. I was also able to meet with City Manager Earl Coffey, Same thing, they're doing a lot of things in the district, especially with collaboration with the hospital and center, and some new ideas they have wrapped around the Genie Rogers building. And so I'll talk to you all about that also in the work session. But it was a very encouraging conversation about what we can do as a district to jump into those conversations. I was also able to meet with President Northam and Center leadership team last Friday. And that was really the collaborations that they would like to do with our school system, and just rebuilding some relationships that may have previously been there and that we kind of lost contact with. That was probably the most positive conversation I've had in a long time, and I'm really looking forward to that. So the other thing I want to do was I wanted to congratulate Ms. Pusateri for her book. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but she has officially published a book.
I might have a copy. Let me just look.
I'm sure the line is going backwards though, but yeah, there's actual instructional design. I'm super excited to look at it. So I'm just going to say congratulations.
That's the one thing you say.
It's crazy. Not right, you all. Not right.
Well, we did.
Very excited.
That's pretty awesome. Did you get that? And she did it while she's completing her doctorate degree. That's quite a challenge, so kudos to you.
Let's give her a hand.
Mr. Bonds, you presented Ms. Weathers with her.
We've already done item 3C.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about it, yes.
We are on this one. Ms. Weathers, you go that way, I'll go this way. These are the oaths and things that you took. And here they are to put on your wall, wherever you want to put them on. One of them really gets me that you have been in a door. But if you've been in the church, you've probably been in some doors. Not yet.
Right.
As we know, let me get over here. And here, both of you, you. Anybody else want to come up here?
That's true.
That's what we go.
And by all you mean also you.
Yeah. It's just me. Like there's a lot of us.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Also, of course. Dr. Ross, board member recognition,
We just done that. Now we're at 3F. We have some.
district-wide clarity presentation.
Yes.
All right, my name is Minnie Campbell. This is Helen Blevins, and we're both instructional coaches at Tolliver. This year, we started working on a Clarity initiative. It stemmed from a training we've taken, and we connected with some educators, leaders across the country, and we really came to the conclusion that this will be very beneficial for us. Essentially, the work that we'll be doing is just ensuring that everything we do with purpose. From the teachers to the students, knowing what we're learning, why we're learning it, and how will we know that we've learned it. Because oftentimes, we have an assignment and we're working toward it, but how do we know how close we are to that goal line? And I'm sure that everybody can think about how frustrating that is, even as an adult. So essentially, that's really the work that we're going to do across the district. We're very excited because, as you were excited today that the whole district was together again, it's really nice that this work is going to encompass the whole district from the bottom up. And so we're really excited about that.
And just to piggyback on what she was saying, it's the vertical alignment from pre-K through 12 to have the same common language all the way across. So when the kids, as they go across the grades, that they're hearing about the standards they're working on, how do they know when they reach their standards, and being able to discuss why they're learning what they're learning. I like to tie that in with what your goal is. We are one. And so the clarity work is just going to help build us that we are one. And it's not an initiative that we're just going to throw in the teachers' laps today or tomorrow. It's going to be ongoing. And the work is going to be done through faculty meetings, through PLCs, and so forth. The coaches are going to be meeting once a week. And we would discuss where we're at with our schools so that we're all on the same page, so that one school's not really that far ahead of the other, and discuss what we need to be working on.
So it just provides a lot of accountability for what you're doing
Yes,
into the system.
yes, and with a purpose, yes.
Right, understand. Now, will the parents be involved in part of this also?
So while the parents may not be involved here at the initial, it is very helpful for the parents because as things come home to parents, it'll be very clear, you know, that it's all about creating that clarity. So clarity to all people involved, all stakeholders, including parents. So
Is more about this initiative online anywhere? Colleges?
Not yet.
Okay.
It was just rolled out, it was just introduced about the why.
It's really not something new. One of our coaches said, essentially what this is just the lens where then we view everything that we're doing or that we're already doing. So it's not something, totally new that teachers have to learn. It's just working together to fine tune all the great stuff that's already going on and making sure that it's with purpose.
Any other board comments to that? Sound like a winner. Success for all, that's the goal. That is the goal. All right. I'd like to get a proof of minutes of our previous meeting.
The personnel notification? Do we have to?
Nope, that's my personal look at it. Dr. Ross, I'm going a little fast here.
But it's trying to get out there.
It was attached to the meeting.
Yeah, it's just attached.
Attached to the,
I don't think we have to talk about it. I think it's just acknowledging it.
it's,
Yeah, there's an attachment.
there's nothing to vote on, it's just information online.
Oh, okay.
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 So we go to item 4, minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion that we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Can I get a second?
A second.
We have a second to approve minutes of the previous meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? It is approved. Okay. Now we have here a reserve for public. We have a person for that. Mr. Sears?
What's that?
Reserve for the public. That's for you. That's
No. I recognize that.
I do move kind of fast.
So I'm here representing the tennis community, and we've been talking for about a year about bait being locked up, and I appreciate the fact that vandalism could be a problem. Liability came into it, so from the attorney's side. But we knew the day would come when it would be difficult to find courts, and that day is today. Center's redoing their courts, the Boyle County courts are gone. This will be corrected by next spring, because we'll have new courts at Millennium Park that'll serve the public and the Boyle County High School team. Centers will be back on, and they've been gracious to let us play there. So, talking in terms of liability and liability insurance, we wanted to run this through Parks and Rec. It's kind of a screening. When I first moved this town, all tennis courts were locked, and it was because of vandalism. So they did run it through Parks and Rec, so if somebody like me came in, they said, you look like you probably won't burn our courts down, here's a key, here's a combination, that sort of thing. And so the request is for that, for the community to be able to use the courts. You have families that want to play tennis. It's just not the adult community. There's children out there that want to play and families. And so we want to come to some kind of a agreement that's comfortable for everybody that those courts are available to the public.
Thank you very much. Is anybody else on the list?
No,
That's it?
that's it.
Okay. Next item, at number 6, cybersecurity, Mr. Brian Moore.
Good evening. So each year, we are required by law to address the board and to let you all know what we're doing to protect all of our personal identifiable information. This is nothing you have to approve. We just have to kind of give you a quick overview. And I know it's been a long day. This is an exciting topic, so I'm going to try to be brief. I think Susan uploaded the sheet that I'm talking off in your minutes, so you can look at it later. And if you have questions, you can ask me now, or if you have questions later, we can talk about it. Just email me or stop by, give me a call. So the common threats in today's society for cyber hackers and everything is, exploit, malware, bots. You've heard bots before. They take over different social media posts sometimes. DDoS attacks, which we have those at the state level quite a bit. Luckily, they mitigate them well so that we don't really experience it as a district. If you're in education, about 5 or 6 years ago, we had computer attacks for like 3 months straight, and Infinite Campus was slow, everything was slow, but they've done a better job of protecting us in that sense of the word. And then you've got phishing, where people are trying to get information, you to click on different links and stuff. And so we have main causes of data breaches. We do have hackers and malware, but luckily we have the majority of our stuff in the cloud, of our data. Infinite Campus is in the cloud. A lot of our online programs are in the cloud. So we're not really, as a district, responsible for the security of those things as far as somebody hacking into their databases and looking at it. And so, Google obviously has, I'm sure, very fortified stuff. So we don't have to worry about that as much, but we do have to worry about the people side, because that's where the vulnerabilities are and people try to take advantage of people. So on the second part of what I've given you, are the things that we've put in place. So this is the main part of what I wanted to tell everybody. One other thing is Unis, which is our financial system. It is also in the cloud. So it's protected by their system. The state kind of runs it, and they're responsible to make sure that Unis is protected. So all of our staff social security numbers, student social security numbers, as far as somebody hacking in to get them, they're pretty well protected. And if there is a data breach, those companies have to let us know, and then we have steps to take to notify people that data has been breached. Luckily, I've been doing this for 13 years, and we've had no major data breach, so yeah, knock on wood. But what we have in place as a district is we do have antivirus software on all of our desktop computers. We have a firewall on our network, so those things that we do host, which again are very minor, they are protected through firewall. We have filtering for staff and students. So, you can't just go to, you've heard about the dark web or whatever. You can't just log into the dark web on our computers and go searching for bad things. We have only certain people have local admin rights on their machines, so you can't just go downloading whatever you want on a machine. We have mandatory password changes every 180 days. That's mandatory by the state. I wish we could do it once a year, but they make us do it 180 days. We have long passwords and phrases. So our passwords have to be 15 characters long. And that is, they say that that is more secure than just having a shorter passphrase with numbers and letters and stuff. So you can just have a long passphrase, it could be a sentence or whatever you want. So it is hard to come up with something until you get in the habit of thinking, okay, it's a passphrase, not a password. We just set up two-factor authentication for all of our certified staff who have access to data, student data. Before we had just our admin staff, but we've expanded that to all teachers. And so you've probably done that with your banking or something like that. When you log into a new device for the first time, it sends you a message and you have to put in a text code or allow it on your phone. So we've implemented that, and that's new this summer. Our Infinite Campus logins we've linked with Google, and that was another state initiative. And so what that does is it's one less password to keep up with, for people to keep up with. So hopefully we don't have teachers or staff members leaving passwords under their keyboards, and so if somebody got in their room, they could look at their password. That's a no-no. We do an annual review of who has rights to what. Mr. Ballard and I, and mainly Mr. Ballard and Kim, but I'll help a little bit. We look at, in Infinite Campus, which staff members have rights to which student data. And we only want people to see everything they need, but we don't want people to see any more than what they need, because there's really not a need for that. We do an online course for staff, all staff members have to take about securing data and being careful with personal identifiable information. We do that annually. We have staff confidentiality training, and we do have agreements with third parties. So all of these third-party applications that get our student data, which is basically first and last name and student ID, we do have contracts with them. So if they ever had a data breach, it tells what they have to give us and what we need to do to help them out as well. And I do, every now and then, I'll send out emails about phishing and kind of how to protect yourself against phishing. So we do that once or twice a year as well. So we feel like we have everything in place that we possibly can. That doesn't mean it's perfect, and it doesn't mean we might not have a data breach tomorrow. But we do try to train our staff, and we do try to put everything in order to where we have less of a chance. So if anybody has any questions, I can take them now. If not, you're welcome, like I said, to contact me, and we can talk more about this fun topic.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Brian?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you for that. Now, next we will have our COVID information update by Dr. Ross.
I'm glad that Mr. Ballard is here, but we are basically just following the guidelines of the state. As you know, the term pandemic has been removed. We sent out a information letter to parents, informing them of the choices that they have. Just letting them know that it's recommended that their students wear a mask. It's not required, and our plan around that. So that's where we are. We're going to follow those guidelines as the state prescribes.
Okay. Mr. Ballard, anything you report?
No.
We
do have all the supplies available for anybody who wants to do anything to mitigate the spread as well, so we continue to provide those. Thanks to the school.
So we're being proactive.
We are.
Good show. Very good. Thank you very much. Now we have our finance reports. I guess Ms. Kim, you have that?
Yes, sir. I uploaded the information to the website, so you may have had a chance to look at the financials. The first thing that was uploaded was the bank reconciliation for the month of July, and you can see that we were very consistent with what we took in and what we came out. So it was a month that had basic activity. I think we were up around $60,000. And then if you go on down to the cash balance fund, in our fund one, which is our general fund, we're still up around $2 million. And including the dishwasher and the refrigerator. I think she talked about last month that she had some reserves available that she needed to spend. And so, everything balanced out at the end of the month. The next thing was your balance sheet, and just going over that, you can see that you have, your assets, which is basically your cash in the bank at 8.9 million. And then, your liabilities and your fund balances, again, total the same amount. So everything ends up balancing out, which is where we want it. And then the monthly report was attached with everything we've done for the month, and all our payments, any cash received, all those type of things. So we're gearing up for tax season. We've already started looking at our tax bill, how we want it presented, and when we want it mailed out. So that'll be right around the corner, because they normally go out around October 15th.
Okay.
And that's all for that section. I'll be happy to answer questions.
I don't have anything. Good. Right. What? Proceed on.
Okay. And the next item was the vendor invoice. I did send that to Ms. Esther about a week ago for her to review. I'm just going to point out some things. We had talked in the June board meeting about being involved in social clubs and professional clubs here in the community. And the Rotary Club dues were paid, and point out a few other things that I can think of. We had a lot of bus maintenance, so we were gearing up for, our transportation that's coming up Wednesday, and so we did a lot of that in-house, and Maple Lane could do that for us. So we did purchase a few tools that would help take care of those issues. And everything else is pretty stable. The pool reel we kept paying at Dow Wellness Center, so our swim team would have that available to them this past month, and that was around $2,300.
Ms. Esther, everything will go for you.
Everything's pretty standard.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. And then, those are the things that we need, for approval, so.
So I make a motion to approve the financial report as submitted.
You have a second? You have a second?
Yes.
Now we move in a second to approve the report that Kim was giving up. All in favor, say aye. And opposes? It is approved.
And then I make a motion to approve the payment of invoices as submitted.
Second.
It has been moved and probably second to approve the invoices. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposes? There are none. It is approved. Thank you, ma'am.
The next thing on the meeting is our plans to be proactive, because parents ask about being able to pay school fees and just athletic fees, any type of field trip fees, anything that was involved with having to provide money to the school instead of giving cash, which cash is a lot larger liability because it's so easy for miscounting and theft and things like that. That for our benefit too, we would like to do debit cards and or take money to be a debit card. This is something that's through our bank, our current bank. They are able to provide one account everything goes into that account, and then we can disperse it for to the appropriate schools or the appropriate accounts at our location. I think anything, if we take in $5,000 a month, there's not any fees. So that's a positive with it going into one account. And the parents are asking for this feature. I've had several say they don't have any checks and they don't carry a lot of cash, and the convenience of it, they would like to be able to have a debit card option. And what we could do is put that on Infinite Campus, they'll link through it, or on our website. They would go on there, they would type in what it was for, which school it went to, and what student, and we would receive funds. And they would receive a receipt via electronic means. I think our, Mr. Ron can explain all the details about that more. He said he'd be happy to give us about 5 minutes of information.
Can you text him and have him start the meeting?
Yes, I can.
Because I'm connected to the link he sent where it says, wait on the organizer to start the meeting.
So you're bringing us into the 21st century.
Hope to.
Yes.
Not sure if he's gonna be available. He had a emergency with his family, I'm afraid. He's at St. Patrick's scheduling. But it is, through our current bank vendor, and they have agreed to provide this service, and said they could actually get it up and started in like a week to less than 2 weeks.
That's good.
So I'm working with Mr. Pennington about getting some of the final information that they need to start that, and we should be able to go.
Now, do you need approval tonight, or is it just informational?
It's informational. The fee involved is less than having to have board approval, but it was something I wanted you to know about, because it was, you're going to see it in the community and hear about it in the community, so I didn't want you
So
to
it
be
just
shocked.
streamlines the process
Yes, sir.
for fee paying for any activities going in the school
Any
system.
activities, we can even do a scan bar, a code, and put it up at ball games where parents can scan that, and then, and they can pay electronically to get into the ball game.
Okay, understand. That's good. That's
Would
good.
be a fee attached to the consumer, would they
Well,
charge anything?
yes, possibly. If we take in $5,000, then they would not charge us the fee. What my plans were was really not to, the fee of $5 or $6 to get in the ball game is approximately 75 cents. So we can either eat that because of being able to take in more money, or we could have a $6 ball game fee, and then the fee basically hidden in the price of the product.
Okay.
Because, I mean, obviously we know that when they say shipping is free, or fees are waived, they're not really waived, they're just hidden inside of the actual product, the cost of the item.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, thank you for the
Oh,
information.
you're welcome.
That does streamline us a great deal, and takes a lot of it off. What we're gonna do with this cash.
Yes.
Not many people doing it right now. Thank you for the information. We don't have anything on the consent agenda for the no, right?
Oh, we've got all kinds of things on this.
What's
Well, yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
The first thing is the district assurances. But
Okay.
then we have a lot of applications for community booster, booster club request, fundraisers. And then, there's a revised salary schedule on there, and then there's also, an administrative review closure letter.
Okay. And what action we need to take on that right now?
Well, do you want to talk about the district assurance?
Right, these are basically, the district assurance is part of a process that we go through with KDE. And basically what we're saying is, when it comes to our consolidated areas of finance that we receive from the state, especially our federal funds, that we're going to legally do what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
And it's just literally us checking the box saying yes, that we're going to do those things. You all approve these every year.
Okay.
So once you guys approve them, I've already uploaded the originals into Gmail. I've uploaded another copy that says that you all did approve these on this day.
Okay.
So if you'd like to take a look at our different copies so you all can look at it, but literally it's just check boxes of yes, that we're going to do things legally.
Okay.
In our
So it's something that's done annually anyway, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And it is attached on the consent agenda.
Okay.
But everything that is attached does need to have an approval, so that the schools can do their fundraisers and the booster clubs can.
I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda for those items.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for the items listed.
Second.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving? Say aye. Negative. Anybody disapprove? All right, then it is approved. We'll move on. On the other, there's nothing. And on the 10-day lease agreement on property. We talked about that.
Lease agreement between Melissa, Marlo, and Dennis.
Sure.
Okay, I think it was in your packet, the current proposal is summarized in a letter from the owner's attorney, Brendan Chevlin, to Dr. Ross, that's July 28th.
Okay.
And if anybody needs to see that, we can look at, this is, I think, the second version of this. There was an earlier draft, and there's been some question about the term of the lease, and obviously it's intended to be a long-term lease. I think the original, Ms. Marlowe, was it 10 years was the original?
Dr. Thomas asked for 10 year,
Okay.
and then you asked to have that revised.
And not only, so what we have now is a sort of a summary of the main terms of the lease, and if it's the board's, and we don't need to vote on this tonight, but if it's the board's inclination, then I think the next step would be to ask the owner's attorney to prepare the formal lease agreement, and then you would approve it at a later date. My only concern that we're going to need to work through, and this is just sort of something being with being a state agency, the school district, the department, with the total lease payments being under $100,000, we don't have to obtain approval. The Department of Education, which is good, it will help us do this more quickly. But on the term, there's some authority in Kentucky law that a school board cannot bind future school boards on financial matters. And
Right.
This board can't obligate future. So, that was the issue with the 10-year lease, even though it was the school district who really would like to have a 10-year lease. We can't, because then you're committing future school boards. And, it's even, usually how that is handled is, it might say that it's a 5-year term or 10-year term, or this proposal, I think it's a 4-year term, but that either party has the right to terminate it each year, which in essence makes it a 1-year term, and then you're
renewable.
You're within your the term of your board. The Kentucky Department of Education actually recommends that that a lease have 2 clauses in it. One is that it's actually 30 days. Either party can terminate in 30 days.
Okay.
And what they call a non-appropriation clause, which just means if the agency, this, future school board doesn't appropriate the money, then the school district can get out of the lease, which, these are clauses that a landlord's not going to like generally, because, it gives the tenant a lot more flexibility, but, in this case, hopefully it'll be okay. We're going to have to work through some language. Here we're even more constrained because this particular board that will approve the lease is going to, this school board is going to change in a couple of months.
Right.
So we get, that would be.
Yeah, just be a different one, January 1.
Right.
Right.
So, my only, I don't have any concern about any of the, the material terms or anything like that. I mean, that's for the Dr. Lawson's board to decide if you're comfortable and ready to move forward. My only thing is we're going to have to work through that term and how we word that just to keep us compliant.
So right now, this is just for information only. We're not going to make a vote
For
tonight.
now, but I think what we would like for the board, if you're comfortable, is that we move ahead and ask that we prepare a lease so that we can come back to the next meeting and present the board with it. This one of the, let's say, I guess the tenant, or excuse me, the owner will be a limited liability company, Green Nova Enterprises, but Ms. Marla, who's here, is one of the owners, and I don't know if you all have questions for her or if she'd like to say anything to you all. I think she was mainly here if you all have questions for her.
I don't have any questions. Do anybody on the board have any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes,
Do
sir.
you think your team or your legal team would have an issue with us having that clause regarding the changing of hands at each board?
I don't believe there's any conflict with that.
I called Brendan this morning to chat with him about it, but we haven't reached each other yet, so we'll probably talk tomorrow. But I think as long as we can kind of work through that one provision at least, I think we're going to be fine and probably ready to move forward.
This property is owned, my brother and I own, we acquired this, our parents passed away this last year and we acquired this property. I think what we're curious about is the intent of the board, and if you're not interested, we would like to know so that we can move on, because this property is sitting vacant right now.
What is the property? Where is it?
It's straight down, I'm sorry,
The property is at the end of Lexington Avenue, closest to the railroad. You think it's in a residential facility or area, but once you get down to the very end of the road, it's an acre lot, which has a chain link fence, and it has a block building, which the maintenance garage is interested in using for bus maintenance.
Oh, okay.
And it's an urgent concern. I think Mr. Dunn can speak to it if he wanted to, but we just don't have, number one, the cost is very cost effective for our district, number one. But number two, we don't have any place to repair buses at this time. And as you can recall, last year, we literally had to borrow a bus because we had buses broken down. So it's becoming I can imagine the deficit's putting on her having a vacant building, but it's also one for us because we could be utilizing that space right now, in turn strengthening our transportation team.
Yeah, the capability of what you can and cannot do, yeah.
And we're about to get in that season where not only we're getting kids to school, but we're getting kids to games and to field trips, and so we really need that space sooner than later.
Vince, would it be advantageous for us to go ahead and make a vote to approve an interim lease so we can move on?
Well,
finalize the
we'll
word.
have to have a formal lease for you to approve, and I guess we'll have, a work session in
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and you're certainly free to put it on the agenda then, but I don't think we need a formal vote tonight, but what I recommend is that we kind of decide if we're going to move ahead and let me work with Mr. Shovel, the owner's attorney, so that we can get this ready to bring to you for approval at the next meeting.
Let's have a motion that we do move ahead with to process the lease agreement.
Okay.
you were asking questions about time, given the fact that we 3 out of 5 board members, the majority will still be on the board. Could we proceed with the 4 years?
I don't think so, because it is a different board, and I know exactly what you're saying, it's a great point, that presumably the 3 who will be on the next board, if you vote the same,
Yeah.
then the outcome will be the same, but you might not. I mean, so.
Okay, well.
But I think that, it's the district who's really has the, as Marla said, the district's really the one who requested the long-term lease. So I think when we work through it and get the lease, it will be the district's intention to be there long-term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same word.
What's that?
I need to be a little bit unorthodox, but if the 3 of them are voting for it, I am sitting here, so I think your question is well taken. If you know that you have actually 4 people in the room, it lowers the chances of that happening, but I know
it does.
I'm curious as to how to do it. Theoretically, this is a weird situation, but every board has a maximum of 2 years, same as Congress.
Yeah, that's why they recommend the 30-day provision.
Right.
Or a year at the most.
Sure. And I think bonds are just done differently than that, because those ones are binding boards for 10 years, 12 years.
But we need a motion to do what now exactly?
We really don't need a motion. If you all are in agreement, we'll work on getting the lease and bring it back at the next meeting. And
well, let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that.
I think that's all we need.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
We're ready to roll with it.
Well, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Yeah, just a verbal approval to proceed on with the wording on that. Okay?
Thank you.
And we appreciate your patience with this. Seriously.
Next item on the agenda. Adjourn. Do I get a motion on that?
I'll make this a procedure.
Second. It's been a motion to adjourn. Second. All say aye.
Aye.
No adjustments. We are adjourned.